knife stropping. Recently, somebody that I really like made a video. Actually, the guy who makes the stroppy stuff, it was stroppy stuff, made a video on stropping and talked about stropping with 6 and 9 micron and was showing how it made the edges go less sharp than more sharp, and how the 1 micron was making edges more sharp. And while I think what he did in the video, everything was true, I think the premise was a little off, because, and that's why I want to talk about and explain stropping, because stropping is not to make your edge sharper, right? Your edge angle is for sharpness. Stropping is to bring back bite. Yes, it might straighten out some areas here and there, and we're going to show how to apply stropping compound. We're going to talk about different types of stropping compound, and we're going to talk about how and when to strop and how to make it the most effective. Because, you know, in layman's term, it does seem like, yes, it's making it sharper, right? That's, you know, kind of the idea behind it. But in reality, the point is to create bite. That's the point. Now, you can easily overstrop. You can easily, because it also depends on so many variables. What steel is it? What's the geometry? What angle did you sharpen at? All these things are variables and will determine how long you should strop for, the stropping compound, and when you should strop. For an example, right? If I'm when you sharpen, right, and you're fresh off the stone, your stone made that edge the sharpness it's going to be. You put the edge angle on it with the sharpening stone. When you come off of that and you go to strop, you're not stropping to make that edge any sharper. You're stropping to basically remove any debris in between your scratch pattern. Let me show you, because like I said, you have two things. This is sharpness. So this would be a tougher edge. This would be a sharper edge. This is how you change sharpness in your edge, by changing the edge angle. Then you have your scratch pattern, which is your bite. This is the edge bevel right here, and then this is the little teeth. So this is the apex where you get cut. And if you look, there's little scratches that go from the top of the bevel down to the apex. And those little scratches lead to little tiny microscopic serrations. So when you strop, you're cleaning in between them, refining them a little bit, maybe breaking off the loose ones, maybe adding some very little tiny ones in between some of the other serrations. So that's basically, like, if you want to really think about it, just think about like a serrated blade, right? Some serrated blades have like big serrations and some have small serrations, some have a mixture. Well, when you strop, you're basically just refining those. So when you get done sharpening, you don't want to spend a lot of time stropping. That can backfire. It can absolutely make your edge get less sharp, especially if you have a higher micron, because the higher micron is going to be more effective. So if it's more effective, then, because like say a stone, right? Say if I sharpen on a stone, say if it's a 1200 grit stone, right? Or let's just say it's 600 grit. Say it's a 600 grit stone. And then I strop on, say, 9 micron, and that's like 1800 grit. That is such a huge jump, but it's a lot closer to that grit than say 1 micron, which might be like 10,000 grit. So 10,000 grit stropping on it isn't going to be as effective as, say, you know, the 9 micron at like, you know, 1800 grit. However, for the purposes of cleaning up a toothy edge, it might be more effective with just a few passes, like a few passes per side, get it done, and now you're going to have the highest level of sharpness. If you keep going, you could backfire, because now you've refined those teeth a little too much. And it's not even about it like being duller, unless if you do this other thing I'm going to talk about. It's not about it being duller. It's about it not preserving the bite or losing the bite or making the serration smaller. So now when you touch it, it doesn't feel as aggressive. Now, how do you actually make it go duller? Well, the more time you spend on the strop, the more time you have a chance of rolling your apex. So you want to not spend too much time, and you want to be good at it. You know, like there's different ways to get really good at it. But, you know, if you can really look at your edge bevel and have a nice low edge angle, you can, you know, you can kind of feel that angle. But if it's really thin with a small bevel, it's very hard to feel that edge angle, and you're more than likely going to roll it if you spend a lot of time on the strop. So, and then also, depending on the steel, geometry, edge angle, all these things will depend on how effective or not it is. That's why, you know, with thin geometry, it's really nice when you strop because it's very effective, very fast. You don't have to keep going like crazy because now you're just, you know, refining the teeth too damn much. So there's different times to use it. So one, you use it fresh off the stone to clean up the micro serrations at the apex, but you don't want to spend too much time, just enough to clean it up and get it nice so that the serrations are nice and even. And, you know, like I said, you don't want to spend too much time doing it. Now, another time is, say, after you've already sharpened, you know, you got your edge sharp and you've been using it. You've been cutting cardboard, cutting straps, cutting ropes. Then you might go to your strop and tune it up a little bit. Again, you don't want to overstrop. You want to make sure you're holding your right angle, because as long as you're holding the perfect angle, you are far less likely, or maybe even an impossible, to make it backfire as bad. The one way you can is by pressure. Don't add pressure. Pressure makes the leather go around the apex. So like say if this is the apex and you're going like this across the leather, it goes like this around the apex. So you don't want that. No pressure. So all these things are variables and can determine how well your stropping is going to be for your edge. So you've used your knife was nice and sharp. Now, you know, the bite has kind of went away a little bit. You've been cutting, your teeth aren't as big. You know, your apex is starting to abrade a little bit. Well, now you're going to hit the strop. And what that's going to do is it's going to help reapply these little tiny microscopic teeth at the apex. It's not going to make it sharper as far as edge angle or anything like that. It's just going to refine the bite, which can make it feel sharper, but it's still two different things. So, and the reason why I'm pointing at that so much is because that helps you understand why or why not it might not backfire when you do it too much or too little or not enough or use the wrong compound on the wrong steel or whatever. Not that there's a wrong compound for the steel, but there's a wrong compound for the grit and finish. So right now, I'm going to show you guys some Gunny Juice, which is my favorite, which is, like I said, the guy's video that I'm kind of commenting on. Great dude. I highly recommend his stuff. I have it in the NeevesKnives store down, or the NeevEKNIVECO store down in the description. This is my favorite compound. It's very concentrated, high concentration. I personally love it. I think it's the best that you can buy. It's easy to apply. You just spray it right on, and then you're done. Maybe rub it around, let it sit for a minute, and then it's dry. And it's ready for you to strop. Now, there's other compounds, and we're going to talk about some of these other compounds that I tend to stay away from now. But I used to, I mean, I have tons. Like, I probably have 100 different kinds of stropping compounds. There's a couple that are good. So the cheap stuff, the stuff you're going to see all over the place is this stuff. It's just an aluminum oxide-based compound, and it goes on like a crayon, okay? I don't like it because it doesn't last very long. It breaks down really fast, and it's not very effective compared to diamond. So if you have to, get that. Now, if you're going to get that stuff, get the white stuff usually. The white stuff's usually a little bit more aggressive if you're going to get this type of compound. A lot of times people get these kind on buffing wheels and stuff like that, but I tend to stay away from that stuff now. But you know, you use what you can, use what you can afford, because it is more expensive to go with diamonds. The next stuff is like stuff like this in a syringe where you just put it on and then you rub it around, but it takes like 24, 48 hours to dry. And you want to try to put it on as thin as possible. And if you do put it on thick, it's almost like it never dries and it's just a mess. The Neve makes a diamond compound in a tube, because the ones I just showed you, I think this one is an aluminum oxide or silicon carbide based. This is diamond. This right here is the most aggressive stropping compound I've ever felt in my life. This is 125 micron. That's crazy. That is like sandpaper. So when you put it on your leather, it's not only going to scratch, you can almost sharpen on this stuff. That's how aggressive this stuff is. When I first used it, it shocked me, because like you feel it, like it feels like you're going across sandpaper. It's not like regular stropping compound. With regular stropping compound, you can't feel the abrasive. This one, you absolutely can. So I warn, if you're going to get that stuff, just know what you're getting. You're getting something that's made to like, I would use it for something like a convex grind. If you're going to redo a convex grind, you know, across leather or something like that. But very good. But they also have finer stuff like this. But like I said, the problem with it is the drying time, and it takes so long to dry, and you have to warm up the leather in many cases to spread it. This stuff, super fast, super easy. You just, that's it. Spray it on, let it dry, you're done. And that does make it a lot easier to use. So, I was going to move this microscope, but instead I'm just going to talk to you guys about it a little bit more, because I think if people can, like I said, understand, we're going to do some stropping too. I'm just letting this dry. We got another one. I got a bunch of different strops here, all different microns. Now, I personally like a 6 and a 9 micron for maintenance and just for cleaning up an edge. A 1 micron I think is great too, especially if you're going with a finer edge. Depending on what grit you are sharpening at and all that stuff, because like I said, you have the microscopic teeth, right? So like, let's say if I went with a 300 grit edge, well, a 300 grit edge with 1 micron, it's not going to be as effective. Yes, it will work, like as far as like cleaning up the edge bevel and stuff, but as far as stropping for edge maintenance and things like that, it's not going to be as effective. Now, again, if you take the 9 micron and you spend a lot of time on that strop, just going back and forth, it's going to backfire. It won't be as keen. That's why you only want to do a few passes per side. You don't want to sit there and just strop a knife to death. Not only is the abrasive going to affect the scratch pattern, but it's also, you have more chances of rounding your apex and just all those things. So light pressure, very light pressure. I like to do like a reverse J because it helps me get the tip, just like that. You don't have to do that. You can just start at the tip, but you go from tip to heel, which gives you the same scratch pattern at the same angle as you sharpen. Because when you sharpen like this, right? So the abrasive that's on the stone, I should grab a stone, but this is obviously a strop. The abrasive that's on the stone will leave a scratch pattern in that direction. So that's also the direction you cut. So that's the direction you want your microscopic serrations. So when you strop, you want the same effect so that the microscopic teeth are going the same direction. Yes, there are different edge bevels. Some people like to put a mirror edge on one side, a toothy edge on the other. That can, on some steels, not all, but some steels, give you 3 times the edge retention, which is crazy to even think about. And it really does work, but it has to be on certain steels. Certain steels it doesn't work on. And what that means is you put a polished edge on one side, a toothy edge on one side, and then as you're cutting stuff, it just doesn't go dull as fast. And I think it's because every time the teeth like lower down, then the polished serrations come out, and then like when those go down, then the toothiness comes back out. I'm guessing that's the way it works. But if the steel is too fine grained, from my experience, it doesn't work. It actually backfires on you. It's kind of like we're talking about with the stropping. What happens is the teeth are so fine grained that they just snap off and it gets slick. So, you know, there's a ton of variables that you want to consider when you are, what the hell, man? Don't tell me I'm going to have to sign in. I might have to just read it over here. So could reapply stroppy stuff. So I could, yeah, you can reapply it. You just don't want to, you want to make sure you use it until, you know, it's, you know, done. But once you notice it's not really affecting, you can reapply it. But yeah, there's no problem with reapplying it. Just keep it nice and thin, because as long as the color is over the surface, there's diamonds on the surface. It does have a high concentration, so you don't have to worry about it not having that. Hey, my journey. Thank you, man. It's been awesome first month. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. So what you can do though is once you've built up, like if you look at this one, this has got a lot of metal on it, right? This is actually almost a purple. So this is the color of it. And look at how dark it is. That means it has a ton of steel on it. So what do? I just take a paper towel and I take rubbing alcohol and I go just like that. Now watch how easy this stuff is to remove. See, it's already getting removed. Very easy. So, and then the alcohol dries immediately. so it's not going to, you know, soak into the leather or anything like that. And it's just very easy to clean off. And then now I can, well, this one's not a spray, but this one's an emulsion that doesn't have a spray nozzle. It has a pump nozzle right there. And then I let that dry, which will take 30 seconds to a minute. And it's reapplied. So it's easy to take off and reapply. It's another reason why I recommend this stuff. And I do think that this stuff is great. But people have to kind of understand how stropping works and how to make it the most effective. So when you sharpen, all right, when you sharpen, you don't always need to strop. And I'm going to give you an example when you probably don't want to strop, because a lot of people have asked me this too. Why is it that when I come off the stone, my edge feels so sharp, then I strop and it feels like it feels like it got less sharp? Here's the reason why. So one, if you have a steel that has a good heat treatment and the burr removes really nice, and you basically reveal a really good edge bevel that's nice and sharp, and when you run your nail up it, because that's how you want to check an edge. You want to check an edge with the touch, feel the bite, and then check to make sure there's no micro chips or little micro burrs like this with your nail. You want it to feel like slick, like glass. You want slick like glass this way, but toothy when you touch it. Okay, so if that's the case and it's nice and slick and you don't feel anything, then you probably don't even need to strop. Stropping's not going to do anything as far as, you know, making it feel keener, because fresh off the stone, the only thing that's going to make it feel, you're not really, like I said, you're not changing the sharpness, because sharpness comes from the stone. Sharpening brings the sharpness and then the grit from the stone. So when I sharpen, I'm going to cut in a bevel, and then these little diamonds that are all over the surface are going to make a scratch pattern that makes micro serrations. Stropping is kind of the same idea. This is an abrasive over the surface, and I'm refining them, but this abrasive is very, very, very fine compared to my stone. So when you strop fresh off the stone after you're done sharpening, you don't need to spend a long time. Sometimes you only need to do 1 or 2 passes, maybe 3 or 4 passes, maybe up to 5 or 10 passes. But really, the only time you should be exceeding 5 or 10 passes per side off of the stone is if you have a soft steel and your burr's being a motherfucker. And that does happen. I'm not arguing that happens. And sometimes you'll be stropping for a long time and it's almost like it's not taking it off. So in many cases, you have to go back to the stone, redevelop a burr, and try to remove it a little bit more efficiently. But if you have good steel and the burr removes really well, then you only need a couple passes per side. And, you know, you don't want to spend too much time on there, otherwise it backfires. You know, with edge maintenance, when you have a nice low edge angle like this, a nice big bevel on your knife, see how big that bevel is? It's nice and big. This is 15 degrees per side. So it makes the apex thinner. So let me show you something. When your edge bevel is thinner, like this one, right? Look at how thin that is up at the apex compared to this. This is going to be it's not going to be as effective to strop this versus this. Granted, you'll still put the scratches on the bevel, but as far as chipping away the very apex and creating these little microscopic teeth at the apex, it's not going to be as effective because it's thicker, right? It's thicker. So when it's thinner like this, stropping's way more effective. And it just, once you've stropped enough, you'll know this, because you'll notice that my low edge angles strop just a few passes and they feel sticky, like really sticky. And that's what you're looking for, is that stickiness. Now, another thing with that best sharpness tester, don't trust that thing ever. I put it in my videos sometimes, but I tell you guys over and over and over and over and over again, do not trust that tester. That tester it's faulty. The only way you can maybe trust some results is maybe if you have like 10,000 across the board with 500 different people or something like that, because even when you use it yourself, man, it is so easy to get, you know, mixed results. So because of that, I just tend to lean towards, I don't trust anything that I see with that. just because I hardly trust it when I use it my self. Why would I trust it when somebody else is using it? That doesn't make any sense. I show you guys on, on the video because it makes cool for the video, but in all honesty, it's not accurate. So, and I've made videos about it, so you guys can go watch that video and see why that thing is so is not accurate. So I made a video showing you guys exactly how it's faked, how people cheat it, and a lot of people aren't even trying to cheat it. It's just they are. Let me try to pull, I need to pull up. Oh, here we go. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna pull this video up. I don't know why it's trying to make me sign in. I don't think I'm gonna be able to on this computer. What the hell? Paused? Why is it paused? I might just have to read the comments over. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to read the comments over here. Is the third? Yeah, I've been doing a lot of lives because I got some catching up to do because of the problems we've had with our accounts and everything. So I do have videos being recorded and being uploaded all this week. Everything, it's going to be lots of content. We got lots of stuff coming up, but this is a good way for me to just to make up some time. I strop on my victim's ball sack. Hey, whatever you got to do. But with this emulsion, though, I do really like I said, stroppy stuff. Like I said, so easy to apply, so easy to put on. It is very effective, but use it appropriately. Use it where you have the better chance of having good results. Like I said, off the stone, very easy. You don't need many passes. If you're going to require a lot of passes, then you did not do your burr removal very well. And it's not maybe your fault. It could be the steel's fault, because that does happen. Burrs on soft steels, especially if there's a crap heat treat. If you have a shot heat treatment, it's going to feel like a nightmare removing that burr. And this is why higher HRCs and harder steels and good heat treatment is so important. That's just one reason. But the geometry is also super important. You know, what's your edge angle like? Because you can change everything about the performance of your knife by your edge angle. If you want a tough edge that's not very sharp, but it's super tough and it doesn't last very long, you go with a high edge angle. If you want a super slicey edge that stays sharp for a very long time and it's easy to maintain, but it's not as tough, go with a lower angle. Now, this is going to be easier to maintain. This is going to be easier to strop. You're going to see better results with it. I was going to go Gil Bradley, but the Manix 2 dropped an M4. It's a badass knife, man. I got the XL here and the Rex 45. This Rex 45, I've been stropping back over, and oh my God, it's got so much damn bite. This stuff gets nasty sharp. And this is another thing. The steel, right? The steel, for an example, just for an example of steels and why, you know, it depends on the steel. CPM 154. It is a very, very, very fine grained steel. You can easily overstrop on that steel. And it's just because you're refining the teeth so much, because the stropping compound, it affects it so much at finer grits that it makes the teeth small. And then once you start using it, they basically wear off really quick, and then now it doesn't have bite anymore. And now you can just run your fingers back and forth on your edge and it not do anything. It's still a sharp edge. It'll still cut paper nice and clean, but it's not going to stay into a cut, because sharpness is where, you know, you can pass through materials, right? Bite is where it keeps you into that cut. That's the stickiness you feel when you touch it. And it makes it to where you don't slip out of the cut every time you go to make a cut. It'll make it stay into that cut, because it's like, think about trying to cut a rope with a non-serrated blade versus a serrated blade. Serrated blade's gonna work a lot better because the serrations keep it into that rope and make it do more damage faster. 6 micron is what I usually strop on my polished edge. Now, you can go with 1 micron. I either go 6 or 1, sometimes 3 micron. It's really not that big of a deal as long as you don't want to go higher than 6 with a mirror polished edge. But it makes it to where, or this steel, because it's Rex 45 and I have it at a low angle, it makes it to where I can easily strop this steel back over and over and over and over. So instead of me having to sharpen this knife you know, every so often. I can sharpen it like hardly ever. And it doesn't take much. I don't spend that much time on the strop. I don't do a crazy amount of passes. I literally do very minimal, very gentle passes, just a few passes per side. And that's it. And I check it. And I make sure the more bite came back. But if I kept going, it might backfire. Since this is edge maintenance and not coming off the strop, I am more likely trying to abrade the apex and create more teeth rather than clean them up. What's the best budget 6x1 diamond stone? Ultra sharp. Oh wait, 6x1. There's not a lot of budget ones, but you can just find something on Amazon. That'll probably be your best bet. As long as it's a diamond plate, it'll work. They just don't look for ones with metal backing. Don't get them with plastic backing. That's one issue, man. Those things suck. Hey, what's up, my brother? Bama Knife Guy's in here. Been supporting for a long time, of course. Love that, dude. Thank you for joining, man. We're talking stropping compound. I'm only going to be on here for a few minutes. I just wanted to make sense of stropping so that people have an understanding of what is happening and how it's, I know, like, when you touch an edge, you feel like, oh, that feels a lot sharper, you know, but technically, if you want to use technical terms, it's refining the bite, not the sharpness. This is sharpness. Sharpness is edge angle. Bite is scratch pattern. That is what the stone's abrasive leaves behind. That's what it uses in order to cut the bevel in, and then to make the little microscopic serrations that you see on the apex that bite into things. Stropping compound does the same thing. It literally, it can change the scratch pattern on the entire bevel too, but the purpose of doing that is to refine the teeth at the apex. And just because maybe it might, because when I seen that the test that the Sharp Stuff guy did, he over-stropped on 6 and 9 micron, and I don't think that was happening with the 1 micron as far as over-stropping, but it could have been the steel, could have been the knife. He says this happens to him all the time, but that would just say to me, don't spend that much time on those compounds, and especially on that steel or that angle and stuff like that, because if your edge is getting duller, right? If the cutting performance is getting worse, then you're probably pushing into the leather, rolling your apex, things like that, or you're letting the abrasive refine the teeth entirely too much, which makes it feel less sharp, even though it has nothing to do with sharpness. It has to do with the bite. It's refining it just too much. So, you know, that's why you want to also hone too. Honing is a great way to keep up with your edge bevels. You can use stones, you can use ceramic rods, but when a ceramic is not working as well, you can take a stone and you can do just a few gentle passes, not a lot. This is kind of the same way, right? You're not trying to resharpen your knife here. You're just trying to add the abrasive to the apex. So you just do a few gentle passes per side, cleaning up the apex, straightening out any parts that might be a little bent or anything like that. You're straightening everything out and you're reapplying that scratch pattern. Now, if that actually worked really good. If that's not really working, then you might want to go down to, if you're like, so if your edge isn't damaged, right? Say there's no damages on your edge. You've literally just, it's just dull. It's just not sharp anymore. You can either do a full resharpening, or you can just drop down to like a medium grit and just add a new scratch pattern over the top of it. As long as you don't have any damages to remove, and as long as you like your edge angle. If you don't like your edge angle, then that's not going to work. But if you like your edge angle, you're happy with your edge angle, right? So you just match the same edge angle and, you know, do a few passes on each side on a medium grit stone, which will reapply the teeth. It'll make brand new teeth, brand new scratch pattern, and then you can just restart basically with minimal effort. So that way you don't have to go and completely reprofile. It's still sharpened. That's sharpening though. You are sharpening at that point. But Got my ultra fine Spyderco ceramic stone today. Nice. Yeah, I got the ultra fine and the medium. Both of them are good. The ultra fine's about, I would say it's about a 5,000 grit stone. The medium, I think it's more like a 1,200, maybe 1,500. They try to say it's lower than that, but it isn't. But that's a good stone to have. It's good to have a good ceramic plate, a good ceramic rod. They're not that expensive, like 20 bucks for a ceramic rod. The ceramic plates are more expensive for sure, but it makes it to where you can hone, micro bevel, and do edge maintenance, and also do burr removal, all on that. Like I showed you guys the other day, if you guys were here, when I'm done sharpening, I will use a fine grit stone to knock my burr off, which is the most effective from my experience. But what does it look like to, let me show you. I might as well just do it really quick. Maybe I'll grab a different edge. Man, all these have such a, oh, here's one. Okay, so this is a good example. It's still sharp. Technically, I could try to strop this back, but it does have a polished edge, right? I'm going to add a new scratch pattern to this very quickly. We're going to do 600 grit. Where's my stone holder? We're going to do a 600 grit, and it's going to go really quick. Watch this. So our goal is just to add the new teeth to it. Move these really quick. Make sure you guys can see this. Okay, so got my diamond plate. Let me see if I can't match that angle really well. That's perfect. So I'm going to do enough passes to where I get a burr with the 600 grit. Now, if I dropped it down to a coarser stone, yes, this would go much, much faster as far as creating a burr and stuff. But really, I'm just trying to add a new scratch pattern and create a new apex with new micro serrations so that the edge has bite again. Hurry up. Usually, to be honest, I just drop straight down to a coarse grit because you're going to remove the same amount of steel regardless. But since I'm not trying to remove any steel, I'm just trying to reapply the scratch pattern. I'm not that worried about it. And you can already see, like, look, the mirror's gone, and now it's a scratch pattern. It's not, hopefully you guys can see that. This is the other side, the side that still has a mirror. I mean, it's a dirty mirror because I've been using it for a long time, but it is a mirror. So a little bit more. And like if this did take me too long, yeah, I would just drop down to a 300 grit and then jump to a 6. That's normally what I do. But I'm just showing you that you can, in some cases, just reapply a new scratch pattern really quickly with a medium grit stone as long as you're not changing your edge angle. If you're a beginner, though, you might want to just go with the coarse because you might notice that it's a little bit more difficult to match your edge angle. I'm really good at it now, but it did take me a while to be able to match my edge angle perfectly. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so we have a burr. Now I'm going to flip my burr and reapply the scratch pattern on this side, and then we'll remove the burr and we'll have a brand new apex or a brand new scratch pattern, brand new micro serrations at the apex. But yeah, don't ever get stropping compounds and think you're going to take a dull knife and make it sharp. That is not the case. That is not what's going to happen. You are going to be very disappointed. It can take care of an edge that's already sharp, that's had some wear and some use. It's to help maintain bite, not sharpness, because sharpness, like I said, comes from edge angle. Stropping compound ain't going to change your edge angle. It's just not aggressive enough. It's like trying to sand down a table with I don't know, it's like sanding down a paper with a cloth, right? The cloth is not abrasive enough to sand down the table. However, if the table was already polished, it'd be really good for it. if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. You kind of just think about it like that. It's just like sandpaper, you know. You wouldn't take like a 6,000 grit sandpaper and sand down a table. You would start off with like 100 grit, then go to 300 grit, then 600 grit. Same process. Okay, so we got a burr on both sides. I'm not going to use this to remove my burr. I'm going to use a finer grit stone like I always do, or like I like to do, I should say. I could use that stone, but I'm not gonna. I like to have my best case results. So it's on this side. So I'm gonna do from tip to heel for the burr to flip. There we go. This, by the way, is 14C 28M blade steel. Oh yeah. Okay, so I feel a little bit of burr. So I'm gonna do just a couple forward passes, not very many. A couple gentle passes. Felt the burr there. Okay, so I can, like I said before, when you come off the stone, take your nail, rub it. I can feel there's still some burr right there on the belly. So I'm gonna try to hit it one more time on that stone. And now I'm gonna go to my strop because I can feel this does not feel like slick as glass. I might actually need to still remove the burr on the stone, but I'm gonna try it. Yeah, I can feel that. We'll see if we can get it with the stropping compound. But like I said, just a few passes per side, depending on how the burr comes off. You might have to do a couple more, couple less, but usually 5 to 10 per side is usually a good amount. And like I said, you don't want to go over. And there we go. That actually worked perfect. So right there, I wouldn't do more because, I mean, I might do like 2 or 3 more per side, you know, something like that, but I'm not going to sit there and go crazy. I'm going to make sure that I keep that the scratch pattern and the bite from the stone I just used, because the stone that's your scratch pattern, right? The strop, if you want a polished edge, get a polished edge on a stone. Don't use stropping to get a polished edge. You can use the stropping compound after you come off of a polishing stone, right? Like, so say this is 7/5 micron, about 3,500 grit. Let's say it's 3,500 grit. I might come off of this stone and then strop on a 1/4 micron or 1/2 micron or 1 micron and refine it just a little bit. But I'm not going to usually go from, you know, any off the stone and then expect to polish my edge with the stropping compound. You're just going to refine it just a little bit, clean off any debris that's stuck in between your micro serrations, and that's it. And then you want to hold on to that nice stickiness. If you keep going, you'll make that micro serrations too small. Now it's less sticky. Now it doesn't feel as sticky. Now some steels, you can go with really, really fine grits and really polished edges and it hold that bite. Like I said, steel is another variable. Some steels take certain edges better than others. Just like edge angles. Edge angles is another thing. So depending on the edge angle, from my experience, the lower the edge angle, the better any steel will take a polish. So if you want a polished edge, the lower the angle, the better. And then also if you want your edge bevel to have a lot of bite with a polished edge, you gotta go with a low angle. Otherwise it just doesn't work that good. My wife thinks I am I'm psychotic because I cut a paper. I can do that too. I just don't want to. But yeah, it is a lot easier once you, like I said, having the understanding of it will make everything change for you. I've spent a lot of time like having edges say that were dull, and I would sit there and try to strop them back and they'd never do anything. It's like, of course not. It's not abrasive enough to do anything that extreme. At that point, you have to cut in a new bevel. So, you know, just understanding what a strop is going to do and how to use it and how to make it the most effective. Yes, it is a tool every person should have, because you definitely have knives in your kitchen. All right, so you definitely have edges that you need to keep sharp. Your chef knives, your kitchen knives, there's no excuse that for anybody to have a dull kitchen knife. You should have sharp edges because it is not hard to sharpen your knife. And like I said, I've shown on a ceramic rod how I can cut in a micro bevel like that. I'll do it again. I'll do it again, damn it. So we have a very sharp edge here. I'm gonna cut this son of a bitch off, and look at this. This is what was it, 600 grit? 300 grit. 300 grit diamond. Hopefully this works, man. I'm gonna look stupid if this doesn't work. So let's test it first. I did this the other day, and I do it all the time, but going from, you know, rolling your edge on a damn stone, it's not always going to be the most effective. You can see it's not sharp. All right. So ceramic rod here. This is an edge angle. This is from WorkSharp. You can find it. Just go to the NeevesKnives store down in the description. I have one in there. NeevesKnives store and sharpening supplies, not the NeevesKniveCo. And you can find them, or just go to that link and then search the top bar. I believe I have WorkSharp down there too, but I think they might have shut down their regular store and they only have their Amazon store now. Anyway, so this has an edge angle right there. Hold that edge angle. So I'm basically just letting that edge angle hit the stone, and then I'm going to hold it and maintain that edge angle as I go down. So right now I'm cutting in a little micro bevel at the apex, but because it's a ceramic stone and not a metal one, if you have a metal honing rod, right now, everybody throw them in the garbage because they don't fucking do anything. Get a ceramic one, and you want to cut in a micro bevel because this stone has abrasives on it, so it actually can cut micro serrations into your edge bevel. It's a toothy edge, but it definitely cuts a lot better. Let me strop it really quick. Now, this being a micro bevel, I'm more than likely just hitting the same edge angle that I sharpened it with, not that I put the micro bevel on it, and hopefully the abrasive is hitting it enough. Yeah, it's not very sharp, but for cutting paper, it's just fine. But see, that was like 10 seconds, right? That's 10 seconds. And that was after scraping it on a 300 grit diamond. You know, that's what I sharpen on. So, you know, that's coarser than a brick. Anyways, the point is that there's no reason for anybody to have a dull edge in their kitchen. Learn to sharpen. You can get a rolling knife sharpener. And then pocket knives, you damn sure shouldn't have a dull pocket knife. But if you do, figure out a way to get it sharp. Figure out a way, get an edge maintenance tool, like one of these. Like right now, I can see and sharpen on this thing right now. I could, because they have the edge angles already put in. So this is like 35 bucks, right? 35 bucks. It's got diamond here, diamond here. These are replaceable. This is a ceramic rod that you can spin, and it has different aggressions. This is for serrations. It has the edge angle there. So put it right there, match that edge angle, and then I just hold it going across. You just do that on both sides over and over and over till you have your burr. I already got a burr because it's such a high edge angle compared to the edge angle I put on here. I put a 17-degree edge bevel on here. So now I'm going to knock my burr back, sharpen this side. Now, don't ever think that your sharpening is going to go as fast as anybody else's, because there's always factors. Your sharpening might take an hour, while mine might take 30 seconds, because we're doing different edge angles, different thicknesses, different steels. Just a little bit more. So this is like basically like a 600 grit diamond here. The first one was like a 300 grit. And then I'm going to remove on the ceramic. But I'm just showing you guys that for 33, 35 bucks, you never have to worry about a damn dull knife again. Hey, Charlie, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the 5 bounce. Okay, so we got a burr on both sides. Sharpen this side, got a burr. Sharpen this side, got a burr. Flipped over to our finer stone, sharpen this side, got a burr. Sharpen this side, got a burr. The burr flips back and forth. We're on our last burr. Now it's on this side because our last sharpening was on this side. So the burr flips to this side. Now we want to remove it. So we're going to take that ceramic rod and I'm going to do a couple backwards passes like this first. That's the way I like to do it. And then I'm going to follow their edge angle because they have the angles built in. Again, I should have showed you that. See, they have the edge angles. They even got it on the strop, which is crazy. The only thing I don't like is that it comes with their strop and compound, which I'll use right now just to show you that it works. But I prefer to use my own damn strop and compound. How long did that take? Somebody time me. How long was that? And that's a high edge angle. That's not even a super sharp edge. I wouldn't even consider this a sharp edge because it's a 20-degree edge bevel. Not that 20 degrees is a bad edge bevel, but I had a 17 on here. So a 17 is going to be obviously a lot sharper, right? 20 degrees, 17 degrees, a lot sharper, right? Thank you, Charlie, man. I appreciate the doney. Nitro V, probably. What are you guys asking? This is 20 CV right here. So this was a super steel too. I just sharpened up on a super steel. 20 CV. I just put a micro bevel on it though. That's why it went so fast. Just so you guys understand, I didn't reprofile just now. I micro beveled. Just like we did with the chef knife with the ceramic. The difference is I micro beveled and resharpened basically a new apex. With the ceramic, I'm basically just quickly cutting in a quick micro bevel at the tip of the apex. With this, I did the same thing, but with diamonds. So that's why it went fast, because if my edge angle is low and then I cut in a high edge angle on the apex, then it's going to go fast, right? Because the angle's already like this. So a high edge angle will automatically hit it really quick. Someone asked, I answered for it. Okay. All right. What do you think about the Beyond EDC Ray? Beyond EDC Ray? You mean Ray the Sharpener? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Tell me what you're talking about. I'll tell you how I feel. S90V at 62 HRC. What would be your finishing grit? 400 to 800 grit. S90V can take a polish. So if you really want to polish, you can. But it's better with a medium grit. The carbides are really big, and that steel has a lot of carbide volume. So it tends to not do... tends to not hold on to the bite on a mirror polish as long as it does on a medium grit. However, like I said, I have some that have done pretty damn good with a mirror polish. But if I did a test side by side, the medium grit would probably last a bit longer as far as not getting slick, holding bite, staying in the cut, things like that. Because there's a difference between edge retention and how your apex breaks down versus how your teeth break down and it gets slick. So you don't want slick. Slick, it might as well be dull at that point. A good mat for working on knives and sharpening. I like these TSPROF ones. These are pretty good. But it depends on exactly what you're wanting. Like this is a nice little mat that you can put sharpening supplies and sharpening stuff on there. It's got a rims, so like it holds moisture. So I like this one, but there's a lot of other ones you could use. Just depends on what you're wanting to do. Like if you want to sharpen on it and you want like wet to get on there, then you're going to want rubber. What Atoma stones would you recommend? 140, 400, 600? Yep, that's what I'd recommend. Upgrading from the field sharpener. Yeah, I would get the 140 definitely. The 400 definitely. Well, you could just go with the 600, but the 140 and 400 I think is really good. I think the 600 is almost a must. You don't really need the 1200, but you could get it. The 1200 grit is more of, it's more of just you wanting to refine, because the 140 is going to cut your bevel. The 400 is going to give you your edge, or it's going to break down the teeth and make them, so your first stone's going to cut in the bevel and have big ass teeth. Your second stone is going to refine the teeth. Your third stone is going to refine the teeth. But sometimes you don't want to refine the teeth so much. Some steels do really well with a fine edge, like a mirror polished edge and things like that, especially at low angles. But they're not necessary, meaning like you don't need to go to that grit. You'll be just fine at 600 grit with any steel. I usually, most steels do the best between 600 and 1200 grit. However, some steels do well with very, very fine edges. It just depends on the steel. Just like some do really well with a toothy edge, like a 400 grit. Hey, what's up, Marine? 10 bones. Good stuff. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, if it wasn't for him, man, I wouldn't be doing these vertical lives, man. He's definitely shown me the light, and I love it because it came in the perfect time when we were, we had a virus getting hacked and all this bullshit. So it's definitely a cool thing that I was able to do this. Favorite knife? Ooh, I don't really have a favorite knife right now, but right now, the Quiet Carry Waypoint Large is one of my favorites. I just got it. Look at how thin that blade is. This is very thin. 85 thousandths blade stock thickness, 15 thousandths behind the edge. This is mega slicey, like mega slicey. Now, this would not be considered a tough knife or a hard use knife. This would be considered a performance knife. So you have to decide what you need, right? Are you wanting a tough knife, a knife that you can do stupid shit with, or do you want something that's high performance? Or maybe you want something in the middle? That's fine. But the thinner the geometry, the better it's going to cut, the faster it's going to sharpen, the easier it's going to sharpen, the easier it's going to strop back, the more effective a strop's going to be, all those things. The thicker it is, the longer it'll take to sharpen, the more difficult it'll be to sharpen, and everything across the board, but it will be tougher. It will be able to take impact better and pry better and do the stupid things that people do. Not saying they're stupid, but I'm saying when you do stupid things with your knife, like stabbing into trees and bending, prying stuff, batoning, that's fixed blade shit, right? Folding knives, I personally, for me, want a performance-driven knife. However, I still like tough knives. I have tons of them. Tons and tons and tons of hard-use knives. So there's nothing wrong with having a hard-use knife. Hey, thank you, Chris, with the 5 bones. I just picked up the Ultra Sharp with holder 3, 6, and 1200. Good for you, man. That's a perfect setup. You got everything you need right there. The only thing you need is a strop now. Get a strop, and I would honestly recommend come up with some sort of ultra-fine stone, like a ceramic, a rod or stone, doesn't matter. You could also go with like a resin bonded stone, something that's ultra fine. And the reason why isn't necessarily to use as a finishing stone, even though you can, but it's more for burr removal and edge maintenance. And I promise you, once you learn how to use it appropriately, you will really want to make sure you have one of those in your collection. It just makes, like I said, ease of honing, ease of burr removal, just so many different things. And your edges come out a lot better. Best field sharpening system right here. Work Sharp Field Sharpener. Just like I said, go down in the NeevesKnives store. It has sharpening supplies in there. You'll see that next to the link. They're in there. The Work Sharp Field Sharpener. You can't go wrong with it. And you can always replace the diamonds. If these are diamonds and a ceramic, this is what I recommend. And I recommend diamonds and diamonds because they work the best. And they work on anything. Yeah, everybody should have the field sharpener. Everybody. Like you should, if in your vehicle, wherever, in your house, it doesn't matter. Your garage, you should have one because this is a lifesaver. And also, like, say if you have it in your truck and you go over to a friend's house and you see, you guys are barbecuing, he has a shitty kitchen knife, you can easily tune it up really quick on this. Like, and you can even, remember when I did this, with the chef knife just a second ago, like this? Well, that's what's on here. That's a ceramic right there. I can do it on this. Same exact damn thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and remember that what did it took 6 seconds to go from an edge that was cut off to a usable cutting edge. I'm not saying that's a high performance edge or anything like that, but it's sharp. It'll work. So it's important to have it. And when people know and realize how, because it feels difficult because most people go into sharpening with no knowledge about it. They go into sharpening just watching somebody scrape it across a stone and think that's what you're supposed to do, not understanding the details and what you're looking for. And if you know what you're looking for, it becomes very easy. Then all of a sudden, the trouble and the frustrations are all out the window because you know the steps and you know exactly what you're looking for, when you're looking for it, and what to do after you get it. Pizza, okay. For both steels, 15 too low, 17 just right, 20 eh. I'm not sure what the question was, but yeah, I usually go between 15 and 20. It depends on what I want. Like if I want toughness, I go 20. If I want performance, I go 15. If I want right in the middle, I go 17. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some knives. They were talking about what? And I was talking about angles. Oh, did it? There's going to be some examples with very thick grinds that 20 degrees is going to be a big bevel because they're so thick. I have a few knives right now. If I put a 20-degree edge bevel on there, the bevel's going to be massive. So in those cases, you want higher edge angles unless if you're willing to have a very, very big edge bevel. How good are the tumbler rollers? They're shit. If you're going to get a roller, get either the Work Sharp or the Horl. The Horl is very, very expensive. I'm not going to lie. It is the better system, though. This is the best one, but very, very expensive. Very difficult to recommend. It's so expensive. This is still pricey, but it's good. This works the best. I mean, well, second best, but for the price. The tumbler, the problem with it is the magnets. I did a video, actually, tumbler versus Horl. And the tumbler's magnets don't hang on very well. It's much more difficult to use. It doesn't come with the right plates. It comes with a metal honing stone, which anytime, let me be clear, guys, anytime somebody recommends or shows you anything to do with dragging your edge across a sheet of metal, whether it's a metal honing rod or a metal anything, get away. Just get away. Just agree that they have no idea what they're talking about, because that's not an efficient way or even effective way to do anything with an edge. Even for burr removal, I wouldn't want to do it, and that's the only thing I'd maybe do with it, and I still probably wouldn't do that. But the PM2, I'd go 50. I go 15, yeah. So PM2s are 20 thousandths behind the edge. That's what they start out at, about 20, give or take, 20, 21, 23, just depends. But because they have that thickness behind the edge, which isn't super thick, but it's a good thickness. It's a thickness that's tough and slicey. They have a nice broad blade. I'm pulling out this because they're very similar to this. This is the Mannix, same company. But they have broad blades, so they're very slicey. Because of all those factors, when you do a 15-degree edge bevel, the thickness behind the edge has the ability to have the edge stability for a 15-degree edge bevel. Now, if it was as thin as this, I might not go 15 degrees or as thin as some other knives, because in that case, now my edge is going to be too fragile. But for a Spyderco, most Spydercos, 15 is great. You know, 17 on some. I usually always do between 15 and 17 for any Spydercos. That's when you go 20. Resharpen my Escort to 16 degrees per side after stonewashing it. So sharp. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, yeah, I love the Escort, the drop bear. Those are great knives. Yes, but the Shaman, I'd go 20. So I went 15 with the Shaman. I go 15 with Shaman. Depends on what you want it for. I wanted mine for even though it's a tough knife and it's made for tough use. So some people might want to go 20. Some people might want to go 17. I think 15 to 17 is better for me because I want the ease of stropping and the ease of honing and edge maintenance in the future. And I want the cutting performance and the sharpest edge. So since I'm not looking for toughness with mine as much, because I have very tough knives and the Shaman is a tough knife, I wanted it to be very slicey, because when I was using it the most, I was working at a distillery and I was mostly cutting big, thick plastic straps, the plastic bands off of like freight, you could say, but it was off of like barrels and stuff. And then I was breaking down a lot of cardboard, cutting a lot of straps in plastic. So I needed the cutting performance more than anything. Wear cold steel 5 max. What about it? What angle? I haven't had the 5 max. I got the 4 max. Probably 20 degrees per side. That's a real hard use knife. That's like fuck you hard use. You know, that's the knife you bring to an apocalypse. So yeah, I'd go 20 degrees per side. What stropping micron for factory edges? I personally like 6 micron for factory or medium grit edges. So factory edges are usually like 400 grit. So I think 6 microns great. Don't overstrop. Don't spend too much time. Do a few passes per side. If you have a Spyderco, this is what I recommend. Right when you get your Spyderco, take your compound, you know, whatever micron you have. If you have a 1 micron, that's fine. 3 micron, that's fine. 6 micron, great. But take it and just do a few light passes. Make sure you're looking at it, though. Get your eyes down here so you can see your bevel and make sure you're not too low or too high, right? Make sure you're hitting it just right. Make sure your apex is just touching the abrasive because you don't want it up high. That's going to roll your apex. You want it a little low, but you want the apex to just barely touch that leather, which is going to be the abrasive. And if you do a few passes per side, most Spyderco edges, I can damn near get hair whittling out of the box with just a few passes on a strop. Sometimes I'll take a honing stone and I'll do like 1 or 2 passes per side and then strop, and they get incredibly nippy. Like the bite from the edge bevel, because this is a reason why, is because Spydercos come with a good edge angle. Most companies could put a high edge angle on their knives. Spyderco puts a nice low angle. So it's easy for that stone and the strop to create the micro scratches and the micro abrasion you want at the apex in order to create that bite. I took my native magnet cut out of the box, and before it didn't cut hair, but after I went 5 times each side, it cuts hair. Right. Yeah. Usually they come pretty good, but yeah, I have felt some that feel like, you know, they just needed a few passes on a strop. I almost always do it just because I know that a factory is trying to get you the knife fast. I know that everybody knows that they're going fast on a belt. They're going for sharp. Don't get me wrong. They like to make sure their knives are sharp, but when you have the time, right, and you can sit there and take your time with the strop and make sure you're hitting the right angle, make sure you're cleaning up the apex, your results can just massively improve. Same with the M4 Manix 2. M4 has a great strop on it, 2 passes. Yeah, M4, like, edge angle is going to be the most important part for any stropping, because well, also the thickness of the edge, but the thickness of the edge and the edge angle, which also equals thickness behind the edge, because, well, thickness behind the apex, because, right, a high angle is going to be thicker behind the apex than a low angle. So, you know, depending on the angle, depends on how much stropping you're going to have to do, but you just don't want to overdo it. You know, you want to, you know, do it so much. And listen, I overstropped more than I stropped good in the beginning, because you feel like you're supposed to keep going. You feel like you haven't done anything, but you don't realize, like, you know, those few passes, they did what you wanted already. And you don't expect it. And you know, the reason why was because I watched people on the internet sit there and just go crazy stropping and stropping, sitting there stropping 6 times per side and switch 10 more times. Next thing you know, they've already stropped 50 times. And I'm like, oh, okay, you strop like that. Not realizing, like, all you're doing is rounding your apex, rolling your apex, taking away any of the bite your edge has. So, you know, and you can do that, you know, with sharpening too, to some extent. You know, if you, it doesn't matter. That guy, Brad, with his magic sharpener, huh? Is that was it magic? Is that what it's called? You talking about the Sharpen Spark? I actually bought the Sharpen Spark. Yeah, I think so too. I'm gonna, because I got a bunch of kickback on that video, even though I did explain it on a microscopic level why that thing wasn't that good. I wound up buying the original because I know, since that wasn't that guy's actual tool, it, you know, it wasn't right for me to talk crap about his. So I bought his, and now I have it, and I thought about doing a sharpening on it and then doing a cut test. So doing a cut test on a steel I've already done a cut test on. So I already know how many feet this knife is supposed to cut. Now let's see how much it'll cut off of their edge. And I don't want to make any judgments yet, you know, because I don't want to be a dick. So we'll see. Maybe that edge will last forever. Maybe it'll never get dull. What's up, y'all? Hope everyone's having a great day. Sharpens best. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about too. Yeah, if you those edges, man, they're not made to last. That would be the only time you really. So if you haven't watched my video, and we'll end it after this. If you haven't watched my video on the pull-through knife sharpeners, watch it, because it explains and it gets you on a microscopic level to understand what is happening when you sharpen and what you're trying to do and what you're not trying to do. And if you use a pull-through sharpener, that's the most common pull-through sharpener is the kind with two carbides that are a V and you're pulling your edge through it. If you're using one of those, you are doing the exact opposite of what you want to do in sharpening. You're actually cutting off the teeth from your apex because the scratches are running this way, right? Remember, we want the teeth running up and down or at an angle. So we don't want these scratches that are running this way to run this way. Well, that's what happens when you do a pull through. And what does it do? It does it on the very apex. So just right here at the apex, we'll cut off all those little tiny micro serrations and it will make scratches this way, which is, it backfires. Like that's not what you want with an edge. That's literally the exact opposite you want with an edge. It's like wanting a saw blade that has no teeth, right? What good is a saw blade going to do with no teeth? So it, while you might take a knife that's dull and do the pull through and it might get sharper, might be able to cut paper a little bit better. As soon as you use it, it's going to be dull. Like the second you start using, going through anything abrasive, cardboard, rope, straps, plastic, anything, it's just going to go dull. So now you're going to have to do it again. And the more you do it, the less time you have of it being sharp. So if you've done it once, it's going to stay sharper a little bit longer than the third time you do it. Third time you do it, it's going to barely stay sharp at all. As soon as you use it, bam, it's dull. And the more you do it, the worse it gets. And now you have no choice but to completely reprofile your knife in order to save the edge. Now, if you would have properly sharpened the bevel, then instead of using a pull through, you could use a honing stone, a honing rod, a strop, those things, which is the proper way to maintain your edge bevel. It adds the micro serrations. It refines the micro serrations. It doesn't take them away. Yes, over-stropping can refine them so much that they feel very small and feel like it got duller, but that's why you just don't overstrop. None of your followers thinks this spark is serious contender to hand sharpen or even fixing. No, I know they don't. I'm mostly talking to non-followers right now because they might not have seen the video or know what I'm talking about. But no, I know that. But the point is the reason why I would do the edge retention test is to just prove it. Because it's one thing to say a statement. It's another thing to prove it. So I don't want to bash a guy in the community and his product without bringing some science behind it. Even though I already did, it wasn't his actual tool. It was like a knockoff of his tool, even though it's the exact same. But his has a little pull through on it and a little carbide thing. So since it is a little different in that sense, you know, I could use it. And then it also just shows people why you don't want to use a pull through, right? You know, because the only time you want to use a pull through, this is the time, the only time you use a pull through is if you're out in the field. And I mean like deep out in the field. Like you're not coming home out in the field and your edge is dull and you need a sharp edge. And you know when you get back home, you're going to resharpen it, but you need a sharp edge right now for this moment to finish the job, whether it's breaking down a deer, cutting up your food out in the field, maybe you're at work. Then you can use a pull-through sharpener and then obviously sharpen it when you get home. But personally for me, I would just have this in my pocket or in the vehicle. If I was going camping, hunting, fishing, work, whatever, this work sharp field sharpener, because then I can completely sharpen it properly and maintain it. And now After I do that, my edge is not going to go dull the second I use it. How I'd rather find a brick. Same here. I would actually be way more prefer a brick. I would literally, like, if I had to pull through and then a brick, like, it would be no, like, not even a thought behind it. The brick is going. That's what I'm taking. And Brad's, but the field sharpener is my go. Yeah, the field sharpener is definitely the go-to. That's what you want. Are you recommending strop progression 641 sharp stuff? Yeah. You could do 641. You could do you can do even just yeah, you can do 641. You could do 964. You could do 641 quarter, or you can just do 6-1 and quarter. It's just there's a big jump, so it depends on your purpose, right? Like, I usually don't recommend stropping to a polish. I usually don't recommend that. Now, there's times where that might be okay as long as you're not spending a long time on the strop. Meaning, I come off the stone. Say my stone was 5,000 grit. It's a mirror polish, but I can see slight scratch patterns from my diamond abrasive. I'll go to, say, a 9 micron, do 3 to 4 passes per side. Then I'll go to a 6 micron, 3 to 4 passes per side. Go to a 4 micron, 3 to 4 passes per side, 1 micron, 3 to 4 passes. So all in all, I didn't do a crazy amount of stropping. I didn't do 10, 20 passes per side on each strop, because then by the time I get to my one, it's gonna backfire. So since I'm lightly doing it per strop, it's going to take those scratches, refine them a little bit, make the polish a little bit more glistening, make it shine a little bit more, and refine the apex a little bit more as far as teeth and bite. But never strop with the purpose of sharpening. The idea is to create bite and to change the bite pattern. I know I know it sounds like I'm being like picky about the words, and I really am, because yes, it feels sharper, so it is technically sharper, right? But sharpness is the edge angle. The bite is what the abrasive is putting at the apex. So you cut in your bevel with your stone, which is making the sharpness of the edge, and then the abrasive that you're using, whether it's stropping or sharpening, is leaving microscopic serrations, which is the bite, which is what you're touching, and is exactly what the stropping compound is leaving behind or cleaning up. Just a quick breakdown really quick. Your edge bevel should look like this, with the scratch pattern running up to the apex with little tiny microscopic serrations at the apex. Well, when you come off the stone, there's going to be debris in between each one of those, right? So when you come off the stone, your goal is to clean that debris out of the in between each serration. Basically clean them up a little bit, maybe even chip away some of the big serrations, maybe even add in a couple little micro serrations in between the serrations. But that's the goal. The goal isn't technically to make the edge sharper, it's to change the bite and to clean it up, which can feel sharper because, you know, you're cleaning it off basically, and making them more acute, maybe a little bit, you know, maybe you're making the little micro serrations a little sharper in some way. But yeah, there you guys go. This is just a quick one. I just wanted to explain stropping. I might make a full video out of this so I can add in the microscope and zoom ins and a lot more details and microscopic views and all that shit, because I know those are it's a better way to learn, because I can break down the information. Obviously in a live, I can't sit here and put edits in. So can you give any tips for sharpening Spyderco serrated edge on Harpy? I have a fixed angled sharpening system, small ceramic rod, and some abrasive diamond paste. So with serrations, if you get the Workshop Professional, it has this little ceramic rod on the back. So this is the stone holder, right? Stone holder. You can flip it over and use this for the serrations. However, what I recommend is getting a diamond rat file. They're called a rat tail file. It's just basically just a. I'm gonna grab one. Let's see if I can reach it. I can't reach it. Oh yes, I can. You want one of these? So this is what you want. You can loosen it up, pull it out once it's loose. So now this makes it to where you can do different thicknesses of serrations. So this is diamond. This one's pretty wore out. I need a new one, but this is what you want. And make sure you match the angle. That's the biggest thing. The biggest problem what people do when they try to cut in a serration or they try to mess with a serration is they do too high of an angle. So like, meaning like the angle will be like this and they'll be cutting in an angle like this. So match the angle as perfect as possible. And it does take a little bit of work. What I like to do personally is I like to use the opposite side of the serrations and do it on a flat stone until the serrations are really bad. You know, so it just depends on how bad they are. It's hard for me to explain here without showing you. But if your serrations are really bad, you have to just remake them, basically. Now, the better way, the best way to do it is get a Dremel. Get a Dremel with a diamond, little diamond stones that are just like this. And you can get all different sizes. That is the best way, because you can literally, you're going to have a clamp, something holding on to the knife, and then be very careful with your hands, but you can cut in new serrations like that. But you got to know what you're doing a little bit, because if you're not holding it perfectly when you do it, you will make them look a little weird. Making a stone for the fixed angle system for serrations, really? Hopefully I get it, man. I like everything from TSPROF. I got that video of the 5 best sharpening systems coming very soon. I tried to make sure it wasn't too long. It was broke down really fast, breaking down each sharpening system that I recommend the most, or the top 5, quickly. But I think it's going to be a good video. But all right, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you guys don't know, I do lives every Wednesday and Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. If you're a member, join the membership. We do 2 giveaways a month, and we give away all kinds of knives twice a month. We have another huge giveaway coming up on the channel, so if you're subscribed, you'll know when it's coming, because I'll do the video, and anybody can enter, so you don't have to be a member for that. But yeah, I appreciate everything, guys. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.